Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really powerful idea from an ancient text that all comes down to a single, simple question. But what's so wild is that, as we're about to see, just asking that question in the first place might be the biggest mistake you can make. Who is my neighbor? I mean, it's a question we've all thought about, right? Seems pretty straightforward. But the source material we're digging into today makes a fascinating argument that this is actually the totally wrong question to be asking. And this is what makes it so interesting. The answer it presents isn't just an answer. It's a radical shift in perspective. Honestly, once you see it, it kind of changes how you look at everything. So the whole idea starts from a pretty basic truth about us as humans. We're social creatures. We're not really designed to live in isolation. We're meant to live in community with each other. This concept of becoming we is absolutely central to the whole thing. It's this idea of taking our individual, separate lives and transforming them into a shared, connected experience. To really get this point across, the source tells a famous story, a parable. It actually kicks off when a lawyer asks that exact question, and the answer he gets comes in the form of this story about a man who's left for dead on a dangerous road. Okay, so the stage is set for a real test of character. You've got a person in desperate, life-threatening need, and three different people are about to walk by. And right here, you see this stark contrast in choices. Two respected figures, people from his own community, they see him, and they choose to do nothing. They literally cross the street to avoid him. But the third person, a Samaritan, someone who back then would have been seen as a total outsider, he chooses compassion. And he didn't just offer a little bit of help. I mean, this was an act of extraordinary compassion. He took on personal risk, a significant expense, and made himself responsible for a complete stranger. He basically treated this person's crisis as if it were his own. And this is where the big twist comes in. After telling this incredible story, the speaker doesn't actually answer the lawyer's original question. Nope. Instead, he flips it completely on its head. Let's just remember that original question for a second. It seems harmless, but the focus is really subtle. The question is centered on the word my, as in, who is obligated to me? Who fits into my circle of responsibility? This is where you can see that flip so clearly. The first question is passive. It's asking, okay, who am I required to help? It's all about defining your limits. But that second question, it's active. It asks, who out there needs help that I can give? It's not about limits, it's about crossing them. This was the new question that was asked at the end of the story. You see how it totally shifts the focus and the responsibility? It's not about figuring out who is worthy enough to get your help. It's about your own choice to give it. So what happens when you live your life by that first question? The text has a name for it, a closed life. And to show us what that looks like, it tells another powerful story. So here you have this guy who has built these high walls around his comfortable life. He saw this poor man, Lazarus, every single day, right outside his door. But he never actually formed a relationship with him, never saw him as someone he could be a neighbor to. And the result of this closed-off, self-centered life is just this profound isolation. Because he was only looking inward, his life was completely empty of the very connection that, according to this text, is what gives life its ultimate meaning and hope. Okay, but what about the opposite? What does an open life actually look like? Well, that all starts by asking that other question, whose neighbor can I be? The story from the source is just incredible. You have a man who had lost both of his legs and one arm, leaving him with only one hand that had just two fingers. I mean, he could have focused entirely on his own pain, but instead he asked, what can I still give? And get this, he wasn't even allowed to get replies. He had no idea what kind of impact he was having. But then this one little note comes from a prison guard, revealing that his simple act of reaching out was a lifeline for an entire community of people he would never, ever meet. He wrote just 2 letters a week. Now, for him, each one was a massive effort. That small number represents this unbelievable commitment to being a neighbor to people he would never even see. So when you put these two lives side by side, the contrast is just so clear. One man had literally everything but built a life of total emptiness. The other had almost nothing but created a life filled with profound meaning and connection. And it all came down to the question they were living by. And that brings us to the final, really powerful idea here. Being a neighbor isn't about what you have. It's not about your money or your abilities. It is simply a choice that is available to every single one of us. What this text suggests is that it doesn't matter who we are or what our circumstances are, we can always choose to open our lives. We always have something we can offer, whether it's our time, our money, or just a letter written with our last remaining hand. And so the real challenge this text leaves us with isn't about trying to figure out who is worthy enough to be our neighbor. The challenge is deciding to become one ourselves for anyone who happens to be in need.